Previously in Part 7, Lin explains to Kin Yan about a mastermind spreading fake news about him. They go to Go's house but face difficulty accessing the 18th floor, where they encounter Nurse Liu and are later approached by Director Liu, who recognizes Lin. Director Liu helped them use the elevator to go up. The nurse asked Liu if he knew Lin, and he told her that he was Director Lin and was formerly the director of cardiac surgery at Hoshin Hospital. Lin and his friends reached the ward. Kin Han introduced Aunt Fan to Lin and Gao. Then the lady lying on the bed woke up, and Fan helped her sit up. After some time, they bid their goodbyes and left, saying they would come back when they had nothing to do. As they were getting in the elevator, Chin called Lin to inform him that the stock had dropped to 5%. Lin told her not to pay too much attention to the matter. Then Han asked what was going on, and Lin explained. Han asked if he had come up with a plan yet. Lin replied that he was waiting for the person behind it to contact him. Kin Yan told them that it must be Tato. Han replied that if it's Tato and they join together to do them a vote, the problem will not be too big. Yan advised not to be impulsive. She also told them that if they do it, they will be offending many companies. They got in their car to leave. Lin's phone rang again. Zheng Zhenchuan introduced himself and asked to meet up with Lin in an hour. He dropped Yan and went to meet Zheng. He introduced himself again and introduced Wachala, who was sitting next to him. Lin told Wachala that his family is very persistent. Wachala told Lin that he had another request, to give them the result of their research in exchange for anything he wants. Lin replied that he still wasn't interested. He then asked Lin if he wanted to give up on Longzhen. Lin told them that he hadn't made a move yet and was just waiting to see what they were up to. While he turned and walked out of the room, after he left, Zheng Zhenchuan told Wachala to take it to extreme measures. He asked to know Zheng's idea so that they could do it together. Zheng told him that he would do it alone and then left. Wachala called his guard and assistant, Zongjian, to mobilize a group of people to go search Lin's house and company. At the Lingyan group, they were in a meeting discussing the broadcast they were going to do the following day. Lin suggested they do it at the Peninsula Hotel. Mr. Gu, Li, and a lady were talking about the broadcast at the Peninsula and how they were going to pull him down. Mr. Gu and his friends assumed that Lin had an ugly face, and that's why he always wore a mask when doing a live stream. So they decided to use that against him. At the Peninsula Hotel, Shuoi told Lin that people were saying he looked ugly and relied on the establishment of his persona to deceive people. She continued telling him their comments while he laughed at them. Then he told her that he was looking forward to bringing the goods lib tomorrow, and he told Xiaoyu to get back to work. He put on his mask and sunglasses to do a live stream. When Tan Long called him from behind, he wondered how he could recognize him with his mask on. Chen Long told him to give the people below some guidance on their work. Lin put his hand on Tian's shoulder and told him to forget about mentoring because he had a job for him. He told him that he would like to apply for a membership card. The guy asked, "It's the same as the Sinbad card." Lin replied and told him he would send some phone numbers later. Then Mrs. Li walked towards him and asked if he would take his mask off during the live stream. He replied that his girlfriend wouldn't allow him, so he would keep the mystery alive. Then the lady asked if he was the president of Peninsula and Lingyan, since his name is also Lin Yi. He replied that she guessed it right. Meanwhile, Mr. Li asked if everything was going according to plan. Mr. Gu replied that it was, and once the broadcast started, he should go to his live room with the rhythm. The lady also added that the Master Brothers' goods were expensive. An hour before the live stream, Ting Yan, Tian, and Yuan showed up. Lin asked them why they came, and Yan replied that they wanted to support his first broadcast with goods. He told them to find a seat, and then the live stream began. Xiaoyu introduced their first product, yellow peaches, and the viewers kept making comments about Lin's face, saying he was ugly. Mrs. Li told the girl behind the computer to kick out all the sailors from the live stream. She replied that she was doing it, but there were too many sailors. Then Lin told the viewers that the broadcast had nothing to do with looks. He reached into his pockets and fished out his car keys, dangling them in front of the camera, saying his car was worth 1.24 billion and they couldn't afford it. Then he turned the camera towards Yan, saying the beautiful woman is his girlfriend. He has everything they could ever dream of, so whether his face is good or bad, it's not really important. Then Xiaoyu continued introducing the goods, and the viewers started saying the prices were too high. Yuan told Mrs. Tian that it was time to come out. Mrs. Tian walked towards Lin and Xiaoyu and stood between them and introduced herself to the viewers. Then she told the viewers that everyone who places a purchase order would be given a redeemable 10 yuan non-threshold taxi coupon. Xiaoyu introduced another product, but the sales were still not going up. Meanwhile, at the Four Seasons Great Wine Live Room, Mr. Li asked Guo how the sales were going, and he replied that they were ahead in both sales. Li told Guo to tell the sailors to keep the rhythm going because he wanted it to look like Lin's business had flopped, and he quit. Mrs. Li received a phone call about their data falling. Yan overheard and asked Yuan to text Xiaoyu to remove Lin's mask. She read the text and told the viewers that she would let them see the real face of the masked brother. Then she took the mask off Lin's face. The viewers were mesmerized by Lin's handsome face and started placing orders. At the Four Seasons Great Wine Live Room, one of the workers told Li that the masked brother showed his face. They looked at the foam and gasped. Then, Li asked the worker how the sales in Lin's studio were. He replied that they had hundreds of orders. At the Peninsula Hotel, they sold 2 million goods, and their live stream ended. Mrs. Li told Lin that the sales amounted to around 280 million, and they could still make a profit of 100,000. Then the system lady appeared, saying his mission had been accomplished and to complete the additional live delivery task and get first place in wild survival. He told Xiaoyu to take care of the rest of the cost, and then he left with Yan and Yuan. He got a call from Han telling him that they were waiting for him at the metropolis to celebrate. Lin told the ladies that they were going to the metropolis. As they were toasting at the metropolis, he received a text from Chuhan to go to her house. He told Yan, and she told him to go. He arrived and found her sitting outside her apartment. When he asked why she was sitting outside, she replied that she felt like someone had been into her house. Lin asked if it was a thief, and she told him that nothing was stolen, but the markers she made had been removed. He told her that they should go up and see. He saw that the lock was in good condition, so he asked who had a key to her apartment besides her. She replied that Kyoxin did. When they entered the house, Lin asked if there was anything she felt had changed in her house. She looked around and told him that the study room was the only place that had been turned over, but nothing was lost. Then she told him that the computer's mouse position had changed, and she had 6 scientific papers. Lin then told her that if someone sends a similar paper to her research results, she should let him know so that he could handle it. They sat on the couch and Chuan asked what they were going to do now. Lin told her that they could just sleep, then he kissed her and carried her to her room. The next morning, he woke up to the sound of her making breakfast. He got dressed and walked to the kitchen and hugged her from behind. Then he asked her if Sin was working today. She replied that she had a day off, and then Lin called her over. They started eating their breakfast. Lin asked Sin if she had anyone following her when she was coming home. She asked them what was going on, and Chuan explained. Sin reminded them of the cameras she saw while coming in, so Lin suggested they should go and transfer the footage. Together, they went to the property building, and they told the receptionist the reason for their visit. Then she told them to wait while she goes to get the manager. The manager showed up and asked what he could do for them. Lin explained, and the manager told them to go to the police station first to report, then come back with the comrades so they can get the video transfer. Lin handed him an envelope with money in it to let them see the footage. The manager accepted and asked for the number of the building. Chuhan replied, and the manager apologized and told them that the camera on the 14th floor was broken, so he tried to give Lin back his money. Lin refused. They went back to the apartment, and Sin asked Chuhan if she was sure she kept her keys in her hands all the time. She replied that she did, and she remembered that while she was shopping, 2 ladies came while she was trying on dress. They talked to her for a few minutes, and her bag was in the fitting room. She rushed back, but everything was in the bag. Sin told her that someone must have copied her key. Chuan asked how a key can be copied. Lin explained to her that it's like a printing clay, where you stick your key on both sides and copy the shape. Lin received a call that someone was hacking the computer. He told the person to wait at the institute. He's on his way. At the institute, he told Mr. Sun to show him the protection data. He explained everything to Lin. Lin replied that he is handling it well, so he should pay more attention to that area. Then he went to Shen's office and asked him to check the security system. Shen replied that he had already double-checked and it's fine. Lin told him to keep an eye on the security system because if anything goes wrong, all their effort would be wasted. Shen replied. When Lin was about to walk out, he asked him if he had checked his house. Lin told him that he will go back and take a look. At home, he saw that his computer was also hit, so he started the computer's defense program. Meanwhile, Wachala asked John if he had found something. He replied that he found nothing, and he also tried to hack their computers, but they were unsuccessful. Wachola told John that Lin's computer may have important things. He replied that he sent someone to check and make a copy of what's inside. Wachola also suggested Chuin. John told him about Ruoksu. Wachola told him not to hit her, because her mother would cause heavy damage to their family. Lin stayed on the other floor of his villa and watched the surveillance videos. After waiting for several days, he saw two men entering his house through the window. They started going through his computer, but when they heard footsteps, they attempted to escape through the same window. Lin kicked the first person back into the house, and one of them asked how he found out they were there. Lin replied, and then they took out their pocket knives, threatening him so that he would let them go. Lin didn't move out of the way, so one guy lunged at him. He beat them all up, and while they were lying on the floor, he asked them who had sent them. They replied that even if he calls the police, they will not tell him. Lin took out small sharp knives, pointing at them, and said he was going to start counting to 5 seconds. Before he could even begin, one of the guys confessed that they were sent by Wachola to find Lin's research materials. Lin asked whether Vedana was behind all this, and they replied that it was all Wachola. He asked them where Wachola was, and they replied that they had no idea but only communicated with the bodyguard on the phone. He told them to contact him because he wanted to see Wachola. After they told him the location, he knocked them out and went to Awasa Pier. There he met Jan, and Lin told him that his 2 men had been sent away. Jan asked him if he was trying to make a move. Lin told him that if he tells him where Wachola is, he will let him off the hook. Jan replied that he's not afraid of death, then ran towards Lin to attack him, while saying he would have let him go if he had given him the research. He lunged at Lin, but Lin dodged all his attacks and punched him, sending him flying to the ground. He grabbed Jan's hand and started turning it while telling him that he will tell Vedana what they have been doing behind her back and threatened to make a move on his family. Jan told Lin Wachola's room number. Then Sin called Lin to tell him that Chu Han went missing. Lin asked John if they had taken Chu Han, and he replied that she was at the hotel with Wachola. At the Shangri-La Hotel, Chu Han asked why he broke into her house. Wachola replied that she's Lin's colleague, and they are interested in his research results. She told him that the medicine he had researched was done by him independently. Wachola told her that they want the biopurification research results, but she told him that she knows nothing about it. Then, Lin barged into the room, and Wachola ordered his guards to stop him. Lin kicked the chair and hit Wachola in the face with it. He got back up and told Lin that he is too lazy to fight, not that he's afraid of him. Lin beat up the guards, and Wachola knelt on the floor, promising Lin that he won't be involved in the matter again. Lin kicked him in the face and stepped on his leg. When he was about to step on the other leg, Vedana and her guards arrived, telling Lin to stop and give her brother another chance. Lin replied that he will stop when his anger subsides. Then he stepped on the other leg and told Chu Han that they should get going. Wachola told his sister to take revenge for him. She reminded him that she told him to stay away from the matter, and he replied that he was just being a good younger brother by helping her finish her task. She told him that he has finally learned to think about his sister. He replied that he has to think about her because she's his sister. Then she shot him in the head, saying if there is an afterlife, he should learn to listen to her. After the cleanup crew was done, Vedana told him to write a funeral invite for her brother's funeral. The guard told her that they could blame his death on Lin, but she told him that her plan has not been accomplished yet. Lin and Chu Han slept together. The next morning, while having breakfast at the hotel's restaurant, Wang Tian told Lin that he's almost done with the things he gave him. While they were talking, he received a call telling him that the Wilderness Survival Program is open, and he should sign an agreement. He went to the TV station and met Director Yan. Chen and some guy were talking about hooking up with Director Yan. She took Lin to the lobby, and Zhang Shi asked who Lin was. She explained that she invited Lin to come and sign up. She told them that the activities they have are not suitable for him by looking at his body. Yan told Shi that she had already decided and she would get him a copy of the agreement. They got the agreement, and Shen told them to wait. Chen asked why Lin got the agreement before the test even began. Yan replied that Lin is a special guest invited on the sports show, so he can skip the test. Then he asked why he didn't get one, and Yan replied that he must not be strong enough. Chen told her that Lin's body does not look like someone who can pass a physical fitness test. Zhangxi told Lin to try it, and the other people wanted to try as well to get the inner invitation. They tried to hit Lin, but he knocked them out. Then Yan told Lin that they should go. As they were exiting the building, Carol Lee told her sister to look at the handsome guy. Carrie Lee replied that he looks like an expert in wilderness survival, and then Carol told her to team up with him, and she will go farther. Wang Yunhang told them that they don't need anyone's help. Lin asked if they had decided on the location yet, and she told him that it was set on an isolated island. He asked if people will die, and she told him that they have made a lot of security measures. He signed the agreement, and as he was leaving, Carol Lee called him and introduced her sister, Carrie Lee. Carrie Lee told Lin that she wanted to cooperate with him, but he said no and drove off. At the entrance gate of his mansion, a guard handed him Wachola's funeral invitation. After reading the letter, he received a phone call telling him that they are being sued for monopoly, and the court summons had already been handed to them. He told the person that it's not a normal lawsuit, so he will handle it himself. He drove to Longsan and met Shen. Lin gave him the flash drive and told him to look at it. Then he told Shen that it is the world's most advanced chip 3.0 technology and told him to help him find their bugs. Lin received a call that the people of Ying wanted to talk to him at 6 p.m. in Zunyi Palace. He went to Zunyi Palace and ordered his food. Auntie Alice told Lin that they will withdraw the lawsuit, but she would like to take a stake in Longsan. She said it would be good for both of them because they are giants in the industry. He replied that the Ying guys are awesome, but the gap between them is huge. Then he gave her a USB, saying there is something in it that could knock her off the throne of the world. He told them that it's the basic source code of chip 3.0. She told him that he will not be able to use it, so he can just sell it to them. Lin told her that he's not short of money, but he wants shares of the photolithography company. She replied that it's impossible because they are two different companies. Lin took back his USB and told her that he will talk to her some other time, saying he has an appointment with the family. After Lin left, Alice told her friend that she underestimated him, but he couldn't threaten her because she had secretly copied his code. She opened her laptop and saw that her computer was not connecting to the network. Her friend told her that her computer was hacked. Lin went to the store to buy a gift. Then he noticed that all the people in the store were looking at him. He asked the sales lady why they were looking at him. She told him that he read the bracelet's price wrong. It's 1.8 million instead of 18 million. He told her that he wants to buy another gift, so she showed him a pendant that cost 19.8 million. He bought both the bracelets and pendants. He went to Wang Ri's house and gave her the bracelet first. She gave him a gift bag, and when he looked inside and took out a belt, he used it to tie her hands. The next day, he went to the hospital and asked the nurses where Chu Han is. They told him, and he met with her while she was getting out of the elevator. He gave her the present, and she opened it. He helped her put on the pendant, and then she started crying. When Lin asked why she was crying, she told him that no one has ever been nice to her except for her mother. After she stopped crying, she gave him his present. Lin saw that it was a belt, and then she hugged him. He was in his house, lying on his bed, when King Yan snuck into his room. She was about to leave, but Lin told her not to, and he grabbed her, dragging her onto the bed. Then he asked her why she was sneaking into his room. She replied that Santa sent her a gift to give to him. She opened the box and showed Lin her childhood pictures. They lay back on the bed, and she asked him if he would like to find his parents and if he still hates them. He replied that it is impossible to hate them and that they shouldn't talk about it anymore. They should sleep. The next morning, he woke up and found Yia getting ready for work. She told him that she wants to go to the cinema in the afternoon, so they should go together. He told her that he will buy the tickets. Then he went to Rox's workplace, and she took him to her office. He gave her a bracelet, and she gave him a gift bag. When he saw that it was another belt, he wondered why they were giving him belts while he doesn't have a fat waist. Then she hugged him and told him that it's mealtime and asked if he wants to eat her. Lin kissed her. They went to the cinema, and he bought popcorn for her. While watching the movie, she started crying, and when Lin asked why she was crying like that, she told him that the movie is touching. Then they saw a guy proposing to his girlfriend, but the girl turned him down and walked out of the cinema, leaving the guy in an awkward situation. So he gave the roses to Lin. Lin took out a gift and gave it to Yan with the flowers. She thanked him and gave him a gift in addition to the box. Lin saw that it was also a belt and wondered whether the four of them conspired together. Then he told her that they should go home. On their way home, she asked him if he will go back to Yanqing. He told her that he will go on New Year's Eve, and she told him that she will go with him. They arrived home, and Yan was sleeping. Lin called the system lady. He asked her if she would disappear when he dies, and she told him that she would destroy herself. On New Year's Eve, they arrived in Yanqing, and he asked Wang Me if Ningyu was getting along with her boyfriend. Wang Me replied, and Zhang Yu called to ask if he was in Nanjing, because he wanted to talk to him about the demolitions of the orphanage. Lin agreed to talk in person. He told Wang Ma and King Yan about the call and that Choang has been given the project. Wang Ma was sad about where the kids would stay if they demolished the orphanage. He told her that Kim Yan will take care of it. Then Yan called him aside to ask if he knew about Uncle Zhou's fight with some people a few days ago. They went to the Choang branch and called a meeting. Yan told them about the project, but they didn't seem happy. Lin asked them why they were not happy, and the manager explained that the first master of Yanqing had his eyes on the same project. So if they took it, there would be a conflict. Yan asked if the person is powerful, and he replied that he is. She told them that he was invited to his birthday today, and Lin told him that he would go with him. Yan went back to the orphanage, and Wang Ma told her that Ningyu was waiting for her inside. She saw Ningyu and asked her where the monitor was. Ningyu told her that it was in their mother's room. They went to the room, and Yan asked her to help her find footage from last Saturday. When she couldn't find it, she went to look for a drive. While searching, she found something and called Yan to come and see. She told her that it was a Su embroidery, and it was very valuable. Ningyu replied that her brother was wrapped in it when he was sent to the orphanage. They took it out, unfolded it, and saw a letter. When they were about to open the letter, Wang called them and said that dinner was ready. She asked them what they were doing, and Ning explained that they were looking for something. Then they saw the quote in the letter, and she pleaded with Wang to let them read the letter. After some time she agreed, and Yan opened the letter and read it together with Ningyu. She told Wang that the letter was addressed to her, not Lin. Then Wang told them to stop talking about the letter and said that the food was ready. Ningyu gently pushed her out of the room, saying they would be right there. She found the drive and watched the footage of two guys beating Lin's dad. They took a screenshot and sent it to Lin. Meanwhile, Lin saw the picture as they approached the entrance of the Leighton Hotel. The girl at the entrance asked to see their invitation, and he told them that Lin could not enter because he was not wearing formal clothes. Wu Jinsong saw Liu and recognized him. He introduced Liu to Lin and explained their situation. Jinsong told the girl to let them in because they were the stars of the show. They entered, and Lin met Bing. They started chatting, but then her friend Pei Pi suddenly dragged her away from Lin, saying she should stay away from them if she didn't want to get in trouble. Bing told her that they were friends, and Pei told her about the project. Then an announcement was made that the fifth master had arrived, and they made a toast for him. Zhao Guangli, the godson of Wu Jianfu, gave him a gift. Two men walked in, carrying a golden statue. Lin recognized them from the picture. Jianfu walked towards Liu and talked to him about the project they stole. Jinsong told his father that he should talk to the person in charge, not the manager. Jianfu asked if Lin was the one in charge, but Lin told him that he had nothing to talk about with him. However, he was interested in the two people behind him. Then, he called the two boys and reminded them that they'd beat up his father. One of the boys told him that if he wanted to fight, he should just fight. Lin grabbed the boy's finger and twisted it, making him scream. Jianfu asked Lin if he came to smash the place on his birthday. Lin replied that if he was happy, he would have a big birthday, and if he wasn't, he would have a funeral. Jinsong lunged at Lin, but Lin punched him. Then Guangli took out his dagger to attack Lin, but Lin snatched it and threw him to the ground. He then pointed the knife at Jianfu's neck and asked him if he still wanted the project. Jianfu replied that he didn't want it. While on deck, Director Yan announced that they were going to Kukoa Island, and the one who climbed the top of the mountain first would be the champion. Huan told Lin that they needed to prepare well in advance. Lin told them to eat a meal first because it would take 36 hours to get there. Then he went to the ship's restaurant. Chen asked Lin to eat at their table. Lin asked him if he wasn't convinced the last time he beat him. Chen replied that he should not think he's great because he defeated him. Some girl dragged Lin to her table and told him that the two guys with Chen were representatives from the USA, but she would protect him. Chen, Brown, and Martin were planning on sneaking into Lin's room to teach him a lesson. Then he received a text from Director Yan to go to the conference room. In the conference room, Yan was introducing Lin to the people present. When Wu asked her if he was the man he found and if she was sure of his physique, Yan told Wu that Lin was considered outstanding among many contestants, and then introduced them to the field expert Niu Dongliang. Chengxing arrived with Tan and some other guy. Wu introduced him and told the people to form a squad with him and go for the glory. When Lin saw that the people were just arguing, he rose from his chair and started to walk out. Then Yan called and asked him what he was doing. Lin told her to figure out what was going on first before she invited him. Some of the guys in the room recognized Lin, including Tony. Tony told Lin that he would teach him a lesson he would remember. Lin slapped him, and his friends lunged at him, but he beat them all, and Director Wu disqualified Lin. Tony tried to convince the director to kick Lin off the ship, but Wu told Yan to make sure Lin's movements were restricted. Then a guy told Wu that they had returned. Wu wondered who could have done that. Yan told him that they had disqualified Lin Yan, and he ordered the ship to return. She told him that he owned the ship, and it was his fault. He should go and apologize. Mr. Wu went to Lin's room and apologized. On his way back, he met with Tony and asked Wu if he had dealt with Lin Yi. Mr. Wu told him that he realized he had done something wrong, then left. Tony went to tell Chengxing, and they discussed that they would find people to sneak in and teach him a lesson. Lin was alone on the deck when an actress named Zhao Yini approached him and asked to team up with him. He told her that it was not possible because she was weak. He returned and found some guys looking for him, saying they wanted to teach him a lesson. They tried to attack him, but he defeated them all. He went to Director Yan's room and asked to stay in her room because his room was messy. She asked him if he needed help with bathwater. He carried her and told her that they should bathe together. Meanwhile, Owen and Jones were discussing their next target, Lin Yi, and that they were told to bring him alive. Then they announced for all participants to gather on deck. Director Yan woke Lin up and helped him get dressed. When he reached the deck, he found that his teammates had already found a lifeboat. Then he saw Zhao Yini and told her to come with them. Wang Yan did not agree with Lin, so he told them he would take another boat. He scared off Brown and Martin and took their boat. They got their survival bags, and the participants pushed their boats off the board. Lin told Zhao Yini to get down, but she told him not to rush her because she had to take it slow. He told her to jump, and she did, and he caught her. Then she started screaming that her makeup was smudged. She started reapplying it, but Lin told her that it was not a dating program. They arrived at the island, and Carrie told Lin that they should study the map. He told them to do it while he dried his clothes. He made a fire and removed his shirt, exposing his abs. When he was done, they started discussing the route they would take. Lin and Wang did not agree with each other, so Lin told them that they would go separate ways. The cameraman was afraid to follow Lin on the waiting route because it was dangerous. Lin told him to follow him on safe routes, but he replied that he was told to follow him all the time because he has drama. He started walking and told the cameraman to follow him if he was not afraid to die. As Lin's team was walking, Chengxing's team planned to follow them and rob their supplies. Owen and Jones were also planning to attack Lin. Then Chengxing and his group met up with Lin's team. Chengxing told Lin that they did not have enough supplies, and since his team had 2 girls, they should share some with them. Lin told them that they could survive by drinking the northwest winds. They did not need the supplies. Dongliang told Lin that they had come to discuss things with him, and he scolded them. Lin replied that they should get as far away as they could and stay out of their way. Wang and Carrie Li stepped forward, preparing for a fight, and told Zhao Yini and Lin to stand back. At the ship, some guy went to report that Lin Yi was about to get into a fight. Yan asked if it was because they were stealing resources. Dongliang lunged at Carrie Li, and she kicked him, sending him flying into a tree trunk. They all lunged at them, but they managed to defeat them. Dongliang knelt on the ground and started apologizing. On the ship, Tony and Yan were arguing about whose team was in danger as they watched the fight. At the island, they told Chengxing's team to leave the supplies and quit the program. Then, other participants came and told them that there was no telling who the supplies belonged to. Carrie and Wang tried to fight them off, but they were not strong enough. Lin stepped in and beat the 2 guys, and they escaped. Chengxing's team left as well. As they were busy looking at the supplies, they noticed that there was a snake. Lin tried to kill it, saying they could make snake soup. Then, he asked why Zhao Yini was not backing off. She told him that the snake looked familiar. She told him that she studied it in biology, and it's called a ball python. It's not poisonous, but it is strong. A person is likely to be strangled to death if they get entangled. The snake jumped on Lin, but he killed it without any difficulties. Zhao Yini told them that the snake they used in their class was small, but that one was bigger, and they should donate it to colleges. Then she saw another snake. After killing the other snake, they separated. Lin went with Zhao Yini and the cameraman, while Carrie went with Wang Hangyan. The assassins continued watching Lin, and the cameraman told him that Director Yan wanted to talk to him. He took the phone from the cameraman, and Yan told Lin that the route he was taking was dangerous because there were crocodiles. She hoped he would not take it. he replied, telling her not to worry. They continued walking until they reached a river, and Yini started getting scared. She told Lin that they should get out because she could sense the eeriness. Lin ignored her and told her that he saw some bubbles in the water, and he thought they were from the crocodile. They continued walking, and a crocodile appeared in front of them, crawling towards them. Zhao Yini screamed and clung onto Lin's arm as the cameraman continued filming. Lin told them to stand back as he took out his pocket knife. The crocodile jumped at Lin Yi, and he stabbed it in its mouth. He grabbed both sides of the crocodile's mouth and pulled it apart. Yini and the cameraman gasped. Then he stabbed it again between its eyes. He stood straight, looking at the dead crocodile. The two assassins were watching from the bushes nearby. Then he felt a murderous aura. As he was about to turn, the assassins shot him in his back, and he landed on the ground. The assassins ran off. Director Yan arrived at a helicopter with a medical kit. She dressed his wound. When she finished, she told him to go with her so that he could go to the hospital to prevent the wound from getting infected. He refused, saying he had to find the murderers. Yan then told him that he could not participate in his condition. He replied, telling her that it was just a small injury, and she did not need to make a fuss about it. Yan gave up trying to convince him to go to the hospital and told him that they would leave the medical kit for him. A day later, they were close to reaching the mountain called Yumashima. The cameraman told them that his work was done, and he would be transferred to Banal photography later. Then he left them. Half an hour later, Lin and Zhao Yini were close to climbing the mountain. He asked her how she was feeling, and she replied that she was fine. With everything that happened, was Yin telling the truth or not? Stay tuned for the next part of this manhwa. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you want to see another episode.